Question is for Mr. Biddle. DC Council Chairman Kwame Brown has promised to repay taxpayers for the cost of 2 Lincoln Navigators leased by DC for his personal use, apparently in violation of the law, which ended up costing the district at least $20,000. However, we're more than a year removed and he has not paid the money back thus far. You owe some or much of your quick rise to the support you had from the chairman. What have you done, or what would you do, to encourage or persuade the chairman to make good on this promise?
Yeah, so for those of you who may remember, last year when the Navigatorgate became the cause celeb in the district, I very clearly spoke out and said that the chairman needed to pay for the entire amount the district was on the hook for these Navigators. And to be clear, he was parsing and trying to explain that he was going to pick up the cost for the time in which he used the vehicles. And I called for him to pay the cost that the city ended up paying for the entirety of the lease of the vehicles because, whatever set of crazy circumstances that got us to the place where we were leasing 2 Navigators for the chairman, we residents are not responsible. And this only works in one or two directions. Either we pick up the tab or he does. He's the one who led to this series of mistakes that put us on the hook for it, and I feel like he's ultimately responsible and needs to pay for it.
Mr. Orange.
I just cannot resist. I want to say this. You see what happened to Tommy Wells, fooling around with that issue. The thing is that Tommy Wells has a great plan for livable, walkable communities, and he had a committee where he could implement that vision. And unfortunately, he got removed because he dealt, with that issue. It's an issue that, at the end of the day, Kwame Brown should fulfill his obligation as stated, and if not, the voters will have an opportunity to take that issue up at the ballot box.
I have a follow-up, but let's see. Let Mr. Shapiro talk.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I heard what I heard from Mr. Orange, which was that the reason why you're not speaking up on this issue is because Kwame Brown may take a committee assignment away from you?
Sure.
No, what I'm saying is that Tommy Wells has a great vision for a livable, walkable community. And he made his case, and then he kept going on and on and on. Sometimes you have to look at the limits of your authority. It isn't something that you go out and make news on the chairman and beat the chairman down. He did his job, and he should have left it alone. He did his job. But when you just keep pressing and pressing and pressing, then all of a sudden, this is what occurred. And no other council members came to his defense. And we lost the livable, workable community vision that he had.
I mean, I guess, why didn't you come to his defense?
First of all, I just got back on the council, and it was an issue that council was actually dealing with. I did not have all the facts other than what I read in the paper, but this was something that was between Councilmember Wells and Councilmember Kwame Brown. They had been back and forth discussing this and discussing it, and I don't know what was the intimate details of it. I mean, they even went into personnel issues. I don't know what was going on.
All right, we didn't actually give Mr. Shapiro all of his time, so if you want to, do you want to?
It's complicated for me, and I think part of the problem here is this is the way in which the city council can be so dysfunctional, because this is about political machines and this is about infighting, and it's not about effective leadership for the city. So I disagree with you, Mr. Orange. I believe that there are times when I think what Tommy Wells did was the appropriate thing to do. He just stood up and said what he needed to do. And we don't need to trade political machines here. Kwame Brown has a political machine. It's actually a machine, Mr. Biddle, that is one of the reasons why you're here as well.
Dr. Holness.
Well, for one, I don't think that council members should be afforded vehicles to drive. There are vehicles that are owned already by the district, and if they need a driver, then that's a whole different ballgame. But I think Mr. Brown needs to pay back all of the monies that were afforded him, that he used for the vehicles. And I did hear that Mr. Wells was punished for bringing the issue up from Mr. Orange, and I think that is a travesty of justice, that you would not be able to speak out for threat of your position on the council.
Actually, that's not what I said, but.
All right. I'm very interested by this topic, so I actually want to see if Mr. Biddle wanted to add anything on the question of the council committee shuffle.
Add anything to it?
That came after you got a chance to, follow
Yeah.
up, say something on the matter.
Sure, say something on the matter. You know, I think that what's challenging about it to me is that the rationale for the committee shuffle really sort of didn't make a lot of sense to most people. The notion that we were somehow reorganizing the council and it was going to become more efficient. And I think, you know, what's happened since then sort of bears that out. Like, many people talk about the importance of education, and many people have espoused a belief, as I do, that we should have an education committee on the council. And yet, in this one opportunity to change the structure of the council, no one spoke up on that issue, but they could all universally agree that we were going to reshuffle Tommy out of his committee.
Okay, next question is, obviously each of you would choose yourself as the most effective member of a current or future council, but who do you think is, who sits on the council today, a close second to yourself? And why? We'll start with Mr. Shapiro.
That's an interesting question. You know, if you want to say, it depends on how you define effective. So if it was about I believe whose policies probably most in line with, I would say Mr. Biddle. If I had to say who's more effective at actually getting things done on the council, but they're not things that I always want to see get done, then I would say Mr. Orange.
All right. I may, just to be
Yeah, I think
sure that I phrased the question the way that I meant to phrase it.
Yeah.
I was specifically asking about sitting members of the council as opposed to the
group
other
here.
people sitting
Suppose
here
us
today.
Then I apologize for my answer.
I am sure I phrased the question slightly confusingly.
My
So
head's in a different place,
you can
I'm
think
sorry.
for a moment, and maybe I'll let you go for like 10 seconds at the very end. Dr. Holmes.
Well, actually, I don't think that there's anyone on the council right now that I would deem would be second or close to what I'm thinking, because I'm an independent thinker. I'm one of the only ones who really believe in the district and believe that we don't need to take corporate contributions. I'm the only one who believes that we need, well, actually, in 1988, I was the one that proposed uniforms for DC public schools. So I've been in this game for a long time, longer than most of the people who are even serving on the council right now. So I'm a thinker out of the box person.
All right. Mr. Biddle.
Yeah, so I appreciate the entertainment value of this question. Everybody, you know, gets excited for. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you up front, I'm gonna pass on actually answering the question directly, and for this reason, because I'm a former teacher, and you know, you're told the first day of school, don't have favorites. Like, you may like somebody, but don't tell anyone that you like this one child over another, and you know, draw the analogy to the council and the level of dysfunction we've had these days. It would actually harm the function of the council to suggest that you like one member over another. And so I'm not going to get into that sort of gamesmanship, because it might be fun and entertaining, but it's not productive.
Okay, Mr. Orange.
Well, everyone knows that, you know, I'm a finance person, and so I'm closely aligned with the financial policies other than the constituent services policy of my good friend Jack Evans, and I'm also closely aligned with the thinking of the councilmember from Ward 4, Muriel Bowser.
Thank you. Do you want to do a 15 seconds?
I think with a little more clarity about the question, I would say Muriel Bowser. I like the way she was able to pull together some measure of coherence around these ethics issues. It was not a strong enough ethics bill, but it was a step in the right direction. I think she showed some strong leadership on that.
All right, thank you very much. We're almost out of our time, and I want to make sure that all of you get a chance to give some closing thoughts if you have any. Please go ahead and I think in our order was going to be the person who was third speaking first for this, so that would be Mr. Orange actually. So do you want to go ahead and give a closing thought? 60 seconds. Yes.
Oh, well, once again, thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to be here to have this dialogue with you. Like I said before, I'm Vincent Orange, council member at large. I also serve as a Democratic National Committee man. My issues are the 4 E's: ethics, education, employment, and economic development. I know in a lot of your minds you're probably interested in this latest issue about the money orders. I think tomorrow Tim Craig and Mike DeBonis, they get it right and they lay out the entire story on what transpired. And I'm just